I'm here with Markos Moulitsas, the man behind the Daily Kos. So tell me what you feel about the energy of this conference, particularly coming so closely behind that Wisconsin recall vote.
Yeah, I was expecting maybe a little bit more, I don't know, disappointment about it. But to me, what I'm getting more is resolve. We realized, we were outspent 10 to 20 to 1. They have a machine that can get out their vote. We actually did a pretty good job of turning out our vote, and we can look at the exit polls and we can see that Obama would win the state, that people voted for Walker because they did not like the recall. It wasn't an ideological decision, it was a procedural one. So we can look at it and say, okay, we didn't lose on the merits, and if Obama was on the ballot, we would have won Wisconsin easily. So that was fine. But we got to realize the money they spent, big money, and they're going to spend a lot more of that coming the rest of the year. So we have that on the plate. We have to realize that they're well organized on the ground. We can't sit there and say, well, they're not going to get their people out. They're going to get their people out. Yeah. So we have a tall challenge ahead of us. And to me, the most gratifying part about the conference was I don't get to go to sessions. I'm too busy doing interviews and whatnot. But I had a reporter tell me, kind of surprised, saying, what's amazing is that the sessions that are focused on practical politics and on how to be an activist, how to walk precincts, how to manage voter lists, those sessions have been absolutely packed because people, they're not here to hear about Republicans are terrible on the economy. They already know that. That they're sold. I mean, they're at this point, they're determined to turn this around. They see the other side is completely 100% committed to their cause, and that if we don't match that intensity, and if we don't learn the tools of the trade, and if we don't learn the tactics, that we're going to be left behind. And they're here to learn how to do all that.
So what are the most important priority for the next few months for the progressive movement as you see it? What's the top thing that we need to do given the landscape that we're facing right now?
Yeah, I mean, the next few months, it's all about organizing. I mean, people want to kind of chill in the summer and then pick it up after Labor Day. We don't have that luxury because they're out there organizing already. I mean, their troops are getting deployed, and they're raising the money, and they're moving resources around. I mean, we cannot sit here and just sort of chill. I mean, we got to hit the ground running, and hit the ground running yesterday, because this is, right now, the good thing is that we actually have the wind is in Mitt Romney's face. He's really not the Republicans, they totally screwed up, right? There's A-list sat this election out. Mitt Romney, nobody likes Mitt Romney. Even Republicans don't like Mitt Romney. So basically, we have 2004, where really John Kerry, do we really like John Kerry? But we hated George Bush. Yeah. And this is where they're at. And I gotta say, that's not a good place to be electorally. Hating somebody isn't gonna replace people sort of, I kind of like the guy. And they kind of like George Bush, and they kind of like Barack Obama. And so we had those advantages. But they're going to outspend us. I mean, Mitt Romney raised more money this last month than Barack Obama did, right? And that was supposed to be one of Obama's big strengths. So they are going to be pushing hard. They got the super PACs. They got their pet billionaires that are just dumping tens and hundreds and maybe $1 billion, before this is all said and done. So we can't rest on our laurels. We got to organize. We got to help fundraise. We got to set the foundation for what's going to be a hell of a dogfight in November.
One of the things you said, which was the idea that there are a lot of we're in a situation right now where we're kind of choosing the lesser of two evils, and what we really need is to have an agenda that we're fighting for. So tell me how important that is. And one of the things that we're trying to do, in fact, at the Take Back the American Dream conference, is to come up with an agenda that progressives can actually fight for and can inject into the debate. How important is that?
That's important. I wouldn't characterize it as a lesser of two evils, because I don't know anybody here who really thinks Obama is evil.
Okay.
But he's not the inspirational figure that he was in 2008. 2008, he was transformational. Now it's kind of like, I guess he's okay. And I guess he's okay doesn't really motivate people to work twice as hard. We're looking at...
It may be the agenda then that motivates people for jobs and for getting money out of politics.
You got to show fight. If you're the administration, he didn't show up in Wisconsin, right? Why? Oh, it would have been embarrassed because we were going to lose. Sure, but he would have shown that he has fight. And if he's going to fight, why am I going to fight for him if he ain't going to fight for the things that are important to me? And I'll tell you what, he fights for the things that are important to me, I'll fight twice as hard. for him. And but I'm talking broadly. So in the Latino community, right now, this administration has deported more undocumented immigrants than any before, including they hated George Bush, Ronald Reagan, and so on, right?
Yeah.
He's done worse job on immigration rights than any other president. Recently, he comes out and says, we're going to halt deportations. It hasn't happened.
Mm-hmm.
So this is something that Latinos are hearing every day.
Yeah.
He can run $10 million in advertising in Spanish language media, wouldn't have the effect of simply coming out and saying we're halting all deportations for Dream Kids.
So the key issue that I'm hearing, though, is that progressives have to become a movement that that has to be reckoned with, that has to be dealt with, that cannot be dismissed.
I gotta say, the LGBT movement has really taught everybody how it's done. People told them it's not the right time. They told them you're not being helpful. You told them they're gonna dig in. They're not gonna move on these issues. They didn't stop, and they didn't stop when he gave them Don't Ask, Don't Tell. He didn't stop when he allowed benefits for domestic partners at the federal level. They kept pushing and pushing and pushing, and they got Obama to finally come out for marriage equality. And suddenly, what you see, polls nationally rise on the issue because leadership is actually important, and what the president says actually matters. So they've been relentless, and they finally forced the president to move. And a lot of these organizations, I mean, the Envaros, the immigration. We'll wait for them to act. Oh, they gave us some promises. Oh, they said, maybe next year we'll do this. You know what? You got to keep pushing them because you can push them. And when they get pushed, they actually benefit. That's a crazy thing. It's not like we're asking them to adopt unpopular policies. We're asking them to move in line with the broad American mainstream. So if the administration wants key constituencies to turn out, they got to stop trying to make nice with Republicans and conservatives and pretend that somehow that's gonna motivate the partisans to turn out. It ain't. Republicans have made an art of motivating the base by showing that they're going to fight for the things that they care about. I got to respect that. They fight for what they care about. And their base turns out big, like we saw in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
They respond to that. If Democrats and Obama and Nancy Pelosi and her candidates at the House and Harry Reid and his candidates in the Senate, if they want to really maximize turnout for progressives and Democrats, they're going to have to show fight. And this is the difference between saying, well, 88% of Democrats turned out and we did okay, or 95% of Democrats turned out, and that made the difference in an election that's going to hinge on inches.
And we're going to have to provoke them to fight and prompt them to fight and encourage them to fight and give them the space to fight as well.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Pleasure.